Hey, friends, and welcome to Lucy Smiles Living Room Podcast. I am your host, Diane Lozo, also known as Lucy Smiles. And we are moving through season 2 of the Lucy Smiles Living Room. And I am truly delighted today to be sitting in the living room in Mexico and the UK with the beautiful Zoe Ewart, who is someone who came into my life a couple of years ago through my own exploration of what it means to really live in a high frequency environment. And we're going to tap into what that looks like in the work that Zoe does. Zoe, welcome.
Hello. Thank you.
I am so excited. And it's interesting because whenever I met Zoe, I was learning how to shake up things in my perception and how to shake up, narratives and a different understanding and putting something in through a different perspective. And so as we start the show today, usually before the show, I choose a card for intention. And one of the decks that I absolutely love, and I'm going to put in the show notes, is Autumn Sky, who is a brilliant artist who I actually was able to meet in person in Vancouver when I went to a beautiful The New Human event. And as I was telling Zoe that I was going to use a card to set our intention, she said to me, put it on the show. So guess what? I'm shaking it up, literally. So here we go. This is amazing. So we're doing new things. We're changing our neural pathways on the Lucy Smiles Living Room podcast. Oh, and this one flew out. So that's not an accident. Oh my goodness. So you can't see it very well here, but I will put a picture in the show notes. So this is compassion. Ooh. I love this is the work that you do. This is really interesting.
It is.
Be a witness, release emotions, transmute pain through love, seek to help others, keep an open heart. This is literally
got the wave of grace through my whole body just then. Because I came off a call and that was exactly what I was doing. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And I will tell you too, once I send the picture, I'll send you the picture. This reminds me of you. This is a stunning, this is so beautiful.
She's freaking gorgeous.
Well, she's unbelievably gorgeous. You'll see what I mean when I send you. This is unbelievable. I wish I could show okay. So that is what we're going to do. We're going to sit in compassion today with Zoe. And before we get started in our conversation, I want to share Zoe with my audience. So Zoe is a trauma-informed ALP, which stands for Effective Liminal Psychology, certified senior life coach, and breathwork practitioner. Zoe was born in London in 1969 and raised in France, where we will learn about her going back to France in the next short while. And she is also the proud parent of 4 very grown-up children who have flown the nest. That's also a very big experience, I know. And after drinking for 25 years, her tolerance for alcohol became so high that she eventually turned to Class A drugs to reach oblivion and then online prescription meds just to sleep. She lost her savings, her company, her relationships, but most importantly, she lost herself. Whew. And so between 2015 and 2019, she broke free from alcohol, from drugs, from uppers, from downers, and nicotine. And piece by piece, Zoe has been rebuilding, starting with the foundation and then slowly restoring the castle of her. That is so powerful. Looking back, she says that she can now see that her scars weren't just reminders of the pain. They were proof of healing. They weren't just obstacles, they were stepping stones, each one guiding her towards the life built on truth and authenticity. So from that place of healing, she was finally ready to step into her purpose, helping people like myself to find themselves, build life that they never knew, that they never wanted to escape from, and live it as the person that they love the most, which is themselves. So today she walks alongside others who are ready to rebuild their castles too. And I am so sincerely honored, Zoe, to have you in the living room today. So thank you so much. It took us a bit to get here.
It's my absolute pleasure to be here. I'm so glad. The best things, they say, the bonnes choses se font attendre. The great things make themselves be waited for.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. I love your accent too. You say it very well. I actually have a French Canadian background too, but I definitely don't have that same French France accent. So Zoe, I'm so grateful to have you here. I've been witness to you over the last couple of years. I think it would have been it'll be 2 years in September that I found you through an amazing program around how to, and I think that'd be better for you to maybe like preface, what it is actually, but to really take a different look at what alcohol is, and take a different look at our relationship to alcohol, and bring it to light in a way that I also believe and I experienced is to kind of get rid of the guilt, rid of the shame, rid of
Mm,
that narrative that can actually make us feel even worse about something while we're maybe feeling our worst
yeah.
in terms
And
of
then
our
using that as a fuel, right? Thinking that that negativity, and actually the lower we go, the more of a rock bottom we hit, the
yeah,
worse we feel, the more successful we're going to be in trying to escape the grasps of what we call of alcohol, right? But
right.
it's the absolute opposite. And I use that. I use that as the fuel to try and help myself stop again and again and again. Obviously, it didn't work, because the minute you feel bad about yourself, you want to drink, right? You need to soothe. And there's even something even more frightening when the person that's making you feel bad about yourself is yourself, because you
Mhm.
can't escape, you can't walk away. You're with this person who's beating you up, telling you you're a failure and what's wrong with you. So damn
Mhm.
right you want to drink. So holding space for that already, that when we're drinking, there's a reason why we're drinking. And it's
Mhm.
not so much the drink, it's like Gabor Mate says, it's not why the soothing, it's why the pain. It's not what you're drinking, not what you're doing, it's why
Yeah.
the pain. And then that brings in the whole compassion aspect of things.
Wow. And it's like an aha moment, because I know for myself, again, I was just exploring for myself, for me, in my own passion and how I want to show up in this world, was taking my own personal inventory on what's in my life that maybe not supporting that highest light. And through that, and always wanting to learn, and I've been, again, in personal development for 2 decades, since just kind of gypsying around and saying, what is really going on here? And I think that's what it was, the open curiosity, like a childlike curiosity. One of those things, which was looking at alcohol in a different way. And it was because I had been seeing things, maybe online or on Facebook, and some certain books that got my attention. And I thought, wait a second, people are speaking differently about what alcohol is, and not from a place of I am bad or someone's bad, or like maybe I'm using it in a way, like I don't have that story of I felt like an alcoholic. So that's not my story, but people around me and myself, like, what am I doing? Like, why am I wanting to do something in my body that's not supporting my body and my brain? And in that, I just, kept on saying, what do I want to do? How do I want to eat more clean? And alcohol was one of those things where I'm like, that's always making me tired. It's always making me anxious. It's always, when you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else. And so I started to see that I wanted to raise my frequency. And in that, was introduced to This Naked Mind, the book
Yeah.
with Annie Grace. And I picked that book up on Audible, and I thought, wow, what a refreshing perspective to understand something as poison, something that is, just looked at differently. So can you, for the audience, I'm sure many people are like intrigued by this, if not already have been doing their own research and their own due diligence. Can you give us a perspective of what is the process, or the perspective that you carry, that you've been teaching others, that can help the audience really kind of just do that shift of what
Yeah.
this really actually is? And then I also definitely want to go into the science behind, even one drink, the
Oh, yeah,
really
yeah. Oh,
showing.
God,
Yeah,
absolutely. Everyone needs to know
yeah,
about that, because it's fascinating and it's quite shocking as well.
yeah.
But ultimately, if you think about all of us when we've started out in our lives, whatever that life started out as, we've all been introduced in some way, shape, or form to alcohol. As in the subconscious, our parents maybe, it might be the fizzing of the opening of a can, hearing the fizz, and then hearing a father or mother, losing their shit because it might be someone sitting back in their chair and going, "Oh, get me a gin and tonic." We're observing, children observing the whole time, right? Because often we're very hyper vigilant for various reasons. Don't let me go down that road. Trauma informed here. I always go down that road. But the idea is that over the years, we subconsciously our brain puts two and two together, and it creates beliefs around alcohol. So what it says is we have a problem. I'm tired, or I'm I'm overwhelmed, and all of a sudden the brain goes, I know exactly what you need. and it'll put two and two together and it says you need a drink. So it's on your menu of options. Now, it so happens that alcohol has a huge amount of dopamine in it. So when you drink alcohol, your dopamine literally shoots through the roof. Now, when we were prehistoric people, when we would walk along, we'd see a bush full of red berries, and we would eat a berry, and if it was good for us, it would go dopamine through the roof, and we'd go, we want more berries, right? It wouldn't go through the roof. It would be a little lift, but we go, okay, that's good for us. We love that. Wine is like 70 million bunches of berries in a bottle with the amount of dopamine that it gives us. So the brain learns we need this stuff. We need it like we need air. We need it like we need food to survive. That must be because of the level of dopamine that it triggers in us. It also kicks in our reward system, the dopamine. So the brain then thinks it needs more of it, right? It's like, oh, I've got a problem and I'm gonna get this in exchange and I'm gonna feel better. And if that's effectively what happens. So there are so many factors that make this one of the most addictive substances on this planet, that it's really important that all of you know that it was never your fault. It never will be. The drink will always call for another drink because that is the nature of the beast, right? If your brain believes that it needs alcohol to survive, it's going to make sure that you keep drinking alcohol. So it's going to put it on the menu in front of your face every time there's an issue, every time life throws something at you and you feel uncomfortable. It's going to be the option, and it's going to be the main option because it's addictive and it's the highest level of dopamine. A good book is not going to, it's not going to cut the mustard, right? Do you see what I mean? So we all think that it's what's wrong with me? I'm reaching for the wine. No. The wine is reaching for you.
Oh my gosh, there you go. That's huge. That's so huge. And I love it because as I was learning, because I dove in, I was like, oh, this is so fascinating for me. And I know for myself, I was like, where I want to go in my life. And again, I was not someone who truly, like, I was not someone who had this secret addiction or I felt like I was like a huge problem drinker. But for me, it was like the small amount for me was like, felt like I was meant to look into it. And because I knew that when I was feeling like, I was like, there's something weird here, because like, why is it that literally like after one, you want another one? Or, when you go, like people can go through bottles of wine. It's like, wow. Like, and I loved what I learned is like, if you had a glass of juice, you would never want 5.
No.
Like I
And that's
can
why when
barely
you
move
go
through one.
alcohol free, your relationship with
Yeah,
liquid.
Yeah. So if I go out, in Mexico, I usually get like a limonada mineral, which is like a mineral water I'll sip through the whole thing in one, like for the whole night.
Yeah.
Right. And I would say like, wow, whenever I would have wine, I would like, sure, I'll have one. And if we're there for 2.5 hours, maybe I would have 2 or 3 glasses of wine.
Yeah, because it's not serving a purpose other than just being a liquid in a
Empty.
glass. And it's not giving you anything in exchange. It's not donating. It's not contributing apart from maybe the pretty mocktail that you got and you go, oh, isn't that lovely? But apart from that, it's you're not looking for something in it, if you will.
Yeah. I would love to go. I feel like there's going to be a part 2 of this podcast because it's such an important topic. So I want to go, if you can, while we're talking about dopamine hits, while we're talking about the chemical interaction of like this substance. One of the things that literally fascinated me that you just can't unlearn was the middle of the night. And there was one way that you had taught around like what our body does with the cortisol and then the dopamine, how people would say like, because many people could say, oh, I need a glass of wine so that I can sleep. But like, it's literally the opposite. But we think that it's supporting us where it's actually completely screwing us up. So
can you see that in itself as a belief, you see? So already you've got a belief. I need alcohol to help me sleep. I need alcohol to make me funny. I need alcohol to be able to feel sexy. It just gets so sly. It fits in everywhere because we give it the job.
Yeah.
Again and again and again.
Yeah. So this was huge for me. And I think that this could be an aha moment for people. Can you explain scientifically what happens when your brain, what it needs to do to function in that middle of the night, the timing and all of that? It's like, it was a chart that I had read through the work that you do. And I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the crazy thing is that before you've even poured the drink and got the drink in you, when your brain gets used to it coming, so when you reach for the glass, it's already triggering a dopamine in your system. So you're already lifted in dopamine. You then get the alcohol. So the dopamine shoots up, like it puts you into a kind of like a sense of euphoria. And that's that first thing, that thing where that first drink is always the best one, right? Now that euphoria lasts all of, get ready for it, 15, maybe 20 minutes, but that's it, right? That's it. And you're never going to find that euphoria again. So the euphoria goes up and the brain goes, oh, shit. We're way too happy. This is not good. And it goes, come on, we need to bring this person down. So it pours dynorphin, which is a depressant, as a downer into our system to bring us down. We then head down. We start to feel a bit anxious. And then it says, hang on a minute, we're depressed now. We're way too down. We need to come back up, because the bodies and the brain's always looking for homeostasis, right? To bring us back to level.
Yeah.
So it then pours in stressors, cortisol, and adrenaline to bring us back up again. And that's when we don't feel it, because there's often people around us. We're watching a film or we've got the phone in our hand. We don't realize that when you reach for the next drink, it's the moment is when you have got those stresses, the adrenaline, the dopamine has left your system, leaves your system faster than the stressors, and the stressors remain in your blood system. So you're feeling the anxiety, the discomfort of the depressants and the stresses in your system. It's chemical mayhem, literally. Mm-hmm. And then you're reaching for another drink. It's like you're in hair of the dog the whole evening.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, oh God, I'm not feeling good, but you don't realize it because you're overstimulated. Now, like I said, as you drink, you never get as high a level of dopamine because you've still got a level of stresses and depressant in your system. So every time you drink, you're going to be just that bit lower, and you're adding just that bit more of stresses remaining in your system. So come 3 a.m. in the morning, the dopamine's left your system and you are flooded with adrenaline and cortisol, and you're lying there looking at the ceiling with your heart racing and flooded with anxiety in general, right? Yeah. So it makes complete sense. But normally we go to bed drunk, so we don't realize, we don't have that, we don't feel the discomfort. Often we just head into bed, we're laughing, bam, we're out, having just that deep sleep. Yeah. And then all of a sudden we've got the stresses come into game, and you're awake. It's crazy. It's crazy. And it all happens in such a short amount of time. Yeah. But we don't realize because we're busy. So we're not feeling the feedback from our body.
It's so interesting too. So there's two things that came up for me. That feeling is awful, first of all. Because I've experienced, like not drinking at all for months and months and months and months. And then I went to an event and I would have a glass of wine, and that one glass of wine did to me what I would have like if I in the past had 3. And it's such an awful, devastating feeling. Like you just want it to stop. And so in that middle of the night, the 3 a.m., your body, like, and I think about the poor body, like anyone's poor body, of like what it's having to do to just like chaos and function. And when you went back to, we want to be in homeostasis, it's like that dream, like I just want to get into homeostasis. I don't like this feeling.
Yeah.
And and then what I was thinking too, because I've just never done prescription drugs. Like I'm not into that. So I don't know what that looks like. But then I was thinking, as you're talking, how many times would people that maybe they do for support, like maybe they've got sleeping pills or something, that they just can't stand that feeling so much, they will wake up, go get a glass of water and grab a sleeping pill. What would that do to the body? So now it's like you're synthetically trying to mask that chaos that your body is going through to literally save your life.
And then bearing in mind that the alcohol in itself is not digestible. So the body can't digest alcohol as it is in the way it is. So it has to transform it into acetaldehyde, which is a poison, is literally a poison. And so the body's priority is to get this shit out of your body as quick as possible. Wow. So all your other things that need to be done, all the things that need to be processed, cleaned out, the brain washed through, none of that gets done.
Yeah.
None of it gets done because the body is trying desperately to get rid of this poison. And now the crazy thing is what this is amazing, is that the body, in order to stop you from drinking, tries to temper your pleasure receptors. So the body tries to stop us from wanting more, but the brain wants more dopamine, right? So the cognitive dissonance, the confusion is real, But
Yeah.
because we very rarely, most of us don't listen to our bodies any longer. We're disconnected from the feedback we're getting from our bodies. We are all in our heads, intellectualizing, thinking our way through life as opposed to feeling our way through life.
Mhm.
We don't feel that. We drink through the body saying, no, no, please stop. And then either, at some point it makes you sick or it makes you black out, but the body is trying desperately to stop us from drinking more.
Wow.
Amazing, right? That's
It
all
is
in us.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Our bodies are miracles.
they are.
It's amazing. And the work that you're doing is so impeccable. I would love to go back to just for you, because again, I think about who's listening, and I have, so many friends. I have a lot of friends that are like, I want to stop drinking. I really, I just don't want to drink anymore. And it's not, and again, it's not if some people maybe have like major difficulties and some challenges that they're using the drink to numb, and some are they're just like, I'm just not feeling it anymore. So I would love to know for you, because you do have a significant story. We don't have to get into the story, but I would
Mm.
love for people who are like lost,
Yeah,
or they say like, well, like they've been searching for the answer. They maybe have, and there's so many different beautiful tools.
yeah.
But how did you come across this in your path that probably saved your life? How
Oh,
did that how did that look for you? Was it a sign? Was it a book? Was it a like what
yeah.
can you share what that looked like, and maybe give some light to the audience to give them
Yeah,
hope?
absolutely. Yeah, with pleasure. It was a crazy thing because now I look back and I realize that I drank the common denominator. I changed the reasons why I drank
Mhm.
as I grew up. So I started at 13 or 14, I can't remember. And so I changed, and then I grew up through my teens and then into my into my young woman, etc., etc. And life got lifey, etc., etc. But and so the reasons why I drank changed, but the thread of why I drank never changed. And it was always discomfort. So
Ah,
I can take that thread from wanting to fit in when I was younger to having children and being a young mum and being unhappy in my relationship and feeling uncomfortable, but so uncomfortable, so in so much pain, and then losing my mum and the pain and the grief, and it was always discomfort, and I couldn't be uncomfortable. So
mhm.
I was constantly trying to flee any discomfort, and the brain helps because it wants less pain and more pleasure. So
Right.
it's going to find, like I say, it's going to get that dopamine on the menu for me. But
Wow.
ultimately, what happened was that I hid behind the alcohol the whole time. I found myself hiding behind everything and everyone because I never thought I was enough. I never thought I was lovable. I never thought that I felt like a shell of myself pretty much from the word go,
Yeah.
for various reasons. Then what happened was I got to a point where I was racking up so many grams of cocaine a weekend. I was
Oh,
binge drinking. I took my wine drinking up a notch to just white alcohol, so tequila, whiskey, you name it. It didn't matter anymore. It was just
mhm.
I needed the quantity. I needed the numbness. And then I was obviously high, and then I had to come down. So I had to have my sleeping pills. I mean, it was a proper mess. And I remember I was in London in a rental house, and I was just sitting on this tiny toilet we had that we were all sharing. It was a really funky place. And I said, I really want to live in this house because this is like, I'm never going to live in a place like this before. And there was this one bed bathroom for 4 tiny bedrooms, and there are about 5 of us in the house, or 6 of us. And I remember sitting on the toilet, shutting the door. And I remember just thinking to myself, I'm going to die. I'm going
Oh,
to die. I could feel the sensations, my heart going crazy. That it was just, I could feel there was proper danger. And there's this beautiful quote by a guy called Almas. And how I remember it is that
mhm.
there's a part of you that loves you more than anything else in this whole wide world. And
Oh,
that part of you will never stop prodding you in your ribs until you wake up. And I got prodded in the ribs and I
oh
woke
my
up.
gosh. Whew.
The moment between that time in the toilet where I was sitting there and I decided to try and start meditating, to try and just bring myself into a moment where I wasn't thinking about the damn stuff and I wasn't lost in my own head of anxiety and these voices talking to me all the time saying, I want it, but I don't want it. And I want more and I don't want it. Was crazy. But the
Mhm.
time it took was maybe a few months between that moment. But I was ready by then. I was really, really ready. I was started to know I didn't want to drink anymore, but I
Yeah.
couldn't. At that moment, I realized I couldn't stop. I
Mhm.
never thought I was addicted. I had no idea. I thought addiction was alcoholics under a bridge or my uncle who died of alcoholism, or my grandmother who fell down the stairs drunk. I thought
Right.
that was like real alcoholism. So it couldn't possibly be me. So I never saw that as an option. I saw that smoking was addictive, cocaine was addictive, but alcohol, didn't know anything about it.
Mhm.
So I then had a period where I was just aware, but I was awake, but not able to do anything about it, which was quite a frightening period because I knew I wanted to stop, but I didn't know how. So I felt
Mhm.
really lonely, and I felt that I was the only one in this world that had this problem, and there was something wrong with me, and I was bad.
Mhm.
And I found myself one day, and I still to this day have no idea. Remember, the finger prodded me in the side. The finger
Yeah.
also prodded me in the side when I bought the book, This Naked Mind by Annie Grace. And I still don't know how it was in my hand, but I'm there with a vodka tonic in one hand, the book in the other. It's a sunny day in London, which is really rare. And I'm lying in the grass. My whole family is sitting around me. They're all with their drinks. And I'm reading her book. And I'm
Wow.
like, oh my God. And everything she was saying was just fitting like a jigsaw puzzle going, just falling into place.
Yeah.
And I remember I read a few chapters, I poured my glass out, and that was it. That was
Wow.
it. Yeah, that was it. It was all or nothing. It had
Wow.
to happen.
Wow.
But in the meantime, obviously, when you do that, it's all very well. But you've also got to, I had to stand in my way of cravings of 6 o'clock when I normally drink. So
Mhm.
I built a life of a kind of a life where I was stopping drinking, where I was stopping taking cocaine. So I didn't go back to the places where I'd normally go with the people I'd normally hang out with and drink and take with. And it was all very civilized, right? You're talking like, people that, I'm not under a bridge, right? There are
Yeah.
people with money, there are people with houses, there are people with jobs, etc., etc. And I just turned inwards and I started to care for myself. I signed up for a program with Annie Grace, and I started to care for myself because I hated myself so much inside that I couldn't do this thing of compassion. I didn't know what the hell it meant, and I had none of it for myself. I might have had a bit for the outside, but I now know that's not possible. You can't have compassion for others if you're not compassionate to yourself. It's a
Mhm.
two-way valve. And so all I could do was I went into a sort of a cocooning, and I started to care for myself, for my envelope. So I my teeth, went to the dentist. I started taking baths with aromatherapy oils. I got a little bit into Ayurvedic lifestyle. So kind of scraping my tongue, doing things I would never do normally, brushing my skin. And it was almost like almost like a rebirth. And I'm not big into spirituality and everything, but it was me coming back, and I was cleaning myself off, and I was preparing myself for my authenticity, to meet
Wow.
myself, to be me. And
Mhm.
from then, I moved out of London, an hour out of London, and from there and then on, I did my healing. I was asked to become a coach in that time, and I went over my dead body. Do I want to be a coach? No, thank you. I
Ah,
don't want to be with people. No way. And then they came back a year later, and I went,
yeah,
yeah, I'm ready.
that's
Yeah.
so beautiful.
Mm.
It's magical when you say that too. I wanna also go back to, when you talked about losing your mom. It's
Mm.
interesting because I forgot, not that I forgot losing my own mom, but I forgot that this was a huge thing for me. So, when I met you, I decided to do the path. Right?
Mm.
So I decided to do, and that's how I met you, is I was like, I'm diving into this. This is like so
Yeah.
epic and exciting. I was really excited. Like, I want to know all about this. So I decided to do the 90 days to learn about it because it's super science, it's super community. Just it was just amazing. So because I had read the book, and then that's how I met you. The interesting thing was it was during the time that said, okay, I'm gonna like take 90 days and like be alcohol free, and I'm gonna work through this amazing course and meet amazing people. And then my mom died.
Mm.
My mom passed away. I had to go out, like the Halloween of that year, it was 2 years ago, and I remember the blessing. I can't tell, it was what, not to say it was one of the best times of my life, it was one of the times I was able to be my best in my life.
Yeah.
And again, it was not that I was not someone who would like drink and like, all those things, but I was just like, I just knew it, I didn't want it in my life. And so as I went back to Canada, because I was living in Mexico for 4 months and I flew back to Canada, and I remember I had a beautiful journal and I had rented this gorgeous Airbnb on the lake, and my family was all there, and we were there through the passing of my mom.
Mm.
And I would wake up at 5 in the morning, and it would be quiet. I'd put the coffee on, like the rest of the family was sleeping, and I would journal, and I was like so pure and so clear. And I remember And I was on one of the Saturday mornings, like I think you would have been on it. And I remember being there and I remember saying to myself, the gratitude that I have that I'm not using this as a way to escape the pain of my mom dying. Because I was
It's
there for the first week, she was still there, and then we went palliation, and then I was present for the passing of my mom. It was the biggest blessing for me because it could have easily, if I didn't, and I'm thinking like if I didn't decide to do the path and like to explore that course, it was a course with you, I would have maybe like not, I would have maybe like, okay, well, this is a perfect time to drink, hang out with my family, drink wine, reminisce, bawl, cry, be
yeah.
hungover for my mom. Like I'm so grateful for the path because it
Mhm.
helped me on the path of my mom's passing. So, and I
Mm.
just think like, wow. And so and again, it's not to say that, some people, I was just very blessed that
I
that
did it
was
with
exactly.
both. I did mum, and it's so beautiful what you just shared, and it just reminded me of mum. I was still drinking, and then I lost my dad last year, and I wasn't drinking, obviously. And do you know what? It was the biggest gift I could have given to myself and to my father,
Mm, yeah.
to be able to be with him in his last days sober.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also for me, right, because I was able to process it as the
Yeah.
losing of my father, but just the loss of my father. There was no baggage, there was no hiding, there was no internal sort of like, it wasn't bringing up anything for me like my mum did, because
Mhm.
I was coming from a place of healing, right, and clarity for being alcohol free. And
Yeah.
lots of people I work with are, in our age group, where the parents are often, either ill, or they're in the process of passing, and being able to be with them
Yeah.
alcohol free
Yeah.
is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because also, like, through the passing of my dad a year, 2 years before, it was the opposite. I went
Yeah.
home and again, so it's not like, I had but it was both my parents are amazing, but when I look back on, like, my dad had passing, my sister and I, we
Mm.
were all like we got through it with wine.
Yeah.
And then I was able to see the difference, and again, it was magical, it was he had already passed,
Mm.
by the time I got home, so it was all very different experience, but I will never forget that feeling of being, like, so present, so in my
Mm.
body, so in my heart, that ability, and I wanna turn to, so that's, like, the heart-centeredness, your story, but, I really think is important, this is very interesting, is the marketing.
Mm.
The marketing of alcohol, especially if you're someone who watches Netflix. But one of the exercises that we went through with you and through, even in the book is to pay attention to how much you see it. So
Mm.
when we do that and you think like it was epic because I was watching a couple of shows, like I was watching Younger on Netflix and a couple of other, like, shows, and it's like they barely start the program and it's already wine. Everyone's always drinking. Every scene has alcohol.
And they're together, there's
And
something
they're
going
loving
on.
and and
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
let's have our date, and, oh my god, let's reminisce over. So again, and I'm not here to at all, because listen, this is not a judgment for wine or no wine, just paying attention to the truth about what's really outside of us and
Mm.
how we have it up against us, like, it's up against us.
Well, you were being manipulated effectively. Well, I know it's
Yeah.
a big word, but we are, right? Because we give the alcohol industry a huge amount of money when we're drinking, right? So
Mhm.
that's why the spirits, alcohol-free spirits, are so expensive,
Ah,
right? Because I
yeah.
mean, it's crazy. And what you're seeing is, remember when we started the conversation, I was talking about the belief system that's developed around around the substance itself. Then that belief system gets confirmed day after day, after advert, after reference, after book, after film. It's everywhere. It's
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
You can't get away from it.
Yeah.
So you're not going to change that. It will change over time. We're not going to change that right now, but we're going to change the way we respond to it.
Yeah.
That's the exciting bit.
Yeah, and I love how you shared your story around just having, because I guess it's we're talking about alcohol, we're talking about addiction, we're talking about poison, but
Mm.
really what the reason for our conversation is how can we get back to a place of self-love,
Mm.
self-compassion, because then that's a lot of inner work, and then whenever we do that, the decisions outside of us, regardless if it's alcohol or bad relationships or jobs that are no longer serving us, or like giving up ourselves when we like too much, maybe being people pleasing. So it's not just about this. I really believe that the foundation is, like you had said, you started to build a better relationship with yourself. And when you're talking about like scrubbing your skin and,
Mm.
taking the Ayurvedic baths, the essential oils, all of those things, you're rebuilding a relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
And so what I find is when we get a chance to do that, we take the opportunity to do that. We start to make different decisions because those decisions that may have, been lower frequency are no longer options for us. We're like, I don't want to do that to me. I love myself. I'm in a new relationship with myself. And so then we're able to, and I think that's what happened with myself, with me, is I was taking an inventory on like, what am I doing for me? Or what am I doing that's not for me? And it's a work in progress because as that journey for me showed up, I was able to look at other things in my life that were showing up because now I'm more crystal clear.
Yeah.
Because it was like, for me, I would say, utilizing, wine, it was social, but sometimes I'd be like, yeah, I'd watch Netflix and have a couple glasses of wine, maybe like not wanting to see things that are going on in my life that now I'm feeling I'm in a place over the last couple of years specifically is, I want to see clearly and I want to
Yeah.
make decisions based on what's actually happening in my life
Yeah.
so that I can be my best self. And that self-love and like working with yoga, working with even just hydration or like, I'm working with cell health right now. It's a way for me to like, whenever you start to clear the gunk here, then you're able to just kind of see, and then the contrast starts to happen. Those things are no longer interesting or
Yeah.
no longer ways to cope. You want to cope with yoga or you want to cope with breath work that you're doing.
Yeah.
And that feeling is so much more gratifying than it is that empty instant gratification that comes from that 15-minute dopamine hit.
Oh, absolutely. But super hard, right? When you think
Oh, it's
about
so hard.
most of us have been living with an inner critic that has been like on full volume for a long time, judging ourselves for our behavior, blaming ourselves for our failure to say, when we say we're going to stop and then the same day, the same evening, you're drinking again, time and time and time again. So you've just been plugged into your source of sort of energy of growth is negativity, right?
Yeah.
It's guilt, it's shame, it's self-hatred, it's resentment. So it's really difficult. That compassion, that self-love word. I mean, when I first started the work and and part of it was I realized was to love myself for who I was.
Mm.
I wanted to be sick. I'd never been told that I was loved. I was never told. No, my parents didn't say they loved me, etc., etc. So me saying that to myself was like, what are you? No way, yuck. But what
Yeah.
I did was over time was I was doing the best I could. So working from the out to the in. So
Yeah.
working from my body, the envelope in, which I could do. I could go and pay to have my teeth done and my hair cut and things like that. But the message is ultimately, it looks like I'm just having my hair cut, but ultimately the message to myself is one of love. It's a
Yeah.
very quiet whisper. I love you. You don't cut your hair if you don't love yourself. You don't go to the dentist. You don't care for something you don't care about.
Mhm.
So I was allowing myself to very gently start to put my arms around myself and create my safety container. It was the beginnings of it
Mhm.
that then allowed me to then be able to find my anchor, which I invite all of you to do, which my children, it's their three fingers. They hold their three fingers. Me, it's always my
Mhm.
heart. I used to never be
Mhm.
able to touch my skin. It'd be on my shirt. Now it's on my skin and be able to find the anchor in your body. Some of my clients, it's their neck. And
Mhm.
I was saying to myself, do you know what? Whatever you say, think, or do, whatever you have ever said, thought, or done, I will never turn away from you. I love you unconditionally. And I
Mhm.
said it, and I said it, and I said it, and I didn't believe it, and I didn't believe it, and then I did. And then I
Wow.
did. I became trustworthy. I turned away from myself through all the moments where I needed myself. Time and time again, I felt the discomfort of emotion that would have helped me process what was coming up, but I turned away from it. So I wasn't processing anything that life was throwing my way, and there was a lot coming my way. So I
Yeah.
was effectively not trustworthy any longer. I had to prove my trust to myself by leaning in constantly every time something came up, every time I felt a little bit upset, a little bit sad. It's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay. I'm here. Time and time again. It didn't
Yeah.
take long, right? It was really, it's actually quite moving because we bask in our own attention. It's all we want. It's what we're all looking for. It's all in
Mhm.
us. That's why everything we need is in us, right? We used to
Yeah.
need a carer. We don't need the carer any longer. We need us. So when we tune in and we plug in and we see and we hear and we feel ourselves,
Yeah.
We are in heaven.
Yeah.
But we're learning how to do that.
Yeah, and then interesting too, because you were talking about earlier, and I want to bring this up. I don't know if you can eloquently explain it, but when we are using alcohol to numb, which we think serves us, we're also numbing the joy in our life. So
Yeah.
you're not just numbing the pain, now your joy factor goes down. So
Yeah.
it's just chaos. Like it just creates this tsunami of shit. Right?
Yes.
So it's
Absolutely.
like, "Yay, I feel good because I don't have to think about those feel those bad things," but then you're, like, missing the good things, and so is there a science around that? I think I
Yeah,
learned about
it is. There is
what
because
is
we
that?
have.
Yeah,
I've got actually a graph. I'll send it to you,
sure.
where we have a natural levels of dopamine, right? And they are set at a level that suits our what we're able to tolerate in the
Mm,
levels of dopamines before it's the levels you get from alcohol. It's almost like having an anxiety attack. It's that
yeah,
sort of like hysteric kind of thing. Anyway, so what we have is we have a natural rhythm, which is like we read a book and it goes up a little bit and it's lovely, and then we go out for dinner and we get a little bit of a rush. We fall in love and it's like woo, and we have a natural dopamine kind of like system within ourselves that gets completely screwed up because when we drink, the levels of expectation of what is good, yeah,
yeah,
moves from being down here, kind of, my hand is like just off the table, to being up to the ceiling.
right.
So if I look at reading a book when I'm a drinker, I'm like, what? Read
Yeah,
a book? Get out of here. No way. I'm going out. I'm having fun. I'm going to drink. That
mhm,
is my reference as to joy.
yeah.
That is my new reference, and it's a fake reference.
I was gonna
So
say
the
it.
body
Yeah,
needs to reestablish homeostasis in its levels of dopamine, and it takes. I've done some research, but what I've found is it's different for everybody, but it ranges from 3 months to 3 years for people to be able to reset. But you
mhm,
know when it's reset because you have a thing like when it happened for me, I remember it clearly, and it was a couple of months in, and I'd felt kind of nothing, right? Because alcohol numbs everything.
yeah.
So it's joy, emotions, everything. And I got into bed one evening, and all of a sudden, it was like having a psychedelic experience of the softness of the cotton on my skin. And I
Wow.
went, "Oh my God, this is so nice!" And I'm like, "What the hell just happened?" And
Yeah.
I was back to my levels. And from then now, my cat makes me weep with joy.
Ah,
I can see the green grass and it lifts my heart. So I'm back on track with my dopamine. But equally, what happens is that when we numb, we don't evolve as a human being. The world is there to give us experiences, to give us discomfort and comfort and
mhm,
emotions that
mhm,
we then process, we then face, and we process, and we emerge triumphant from. Yeah. So we
yeah,
might feel discomfort of some sort, like let's say you lose your mum and you've got that grief and it comes here and it's there for a purpose, right? To let go of something that's irretrievably lost, which is the words of Clara McLaren. And then progressive, you allow yourself to feel, and then you let go of holding on to the idea of, oh my God, my mom, my mom, my mom. Okay, feel the grief, let the sadness move through you, and all of a sudden you see the world with another perspective. There's
mhm,
opportunities, there's options. You're here, you've got one life, and you're ready to live it again. You emerge with less fear, just that bit less fear
mhm.
about what life can throw at you. So the ultimate that we're all looking for is to be able to be in this life that throws never-ending challenges,
Yeah,
never-ending discomfort, and to
yeah,
be able to go, you know what? It's okay. Yeah,
yeah,
I feel a bit uncomfortable. It's okay. It'll pass. It'll move through. Then that's when we feel happy because we
yeah,
step out of navigating our lives through the lenses of fear all the time. And alcohol robs us of that. So we
mhm,
don't evolve. We never emerge triumphant. We emerge through discomfort. It's there
mhm,
for us to evolve discomfort, but we numb it.
yeah.
So,
And it's interesting too, because as you're sharing that, again, we have life's challenges no matter what. That's why we're here until we move on to the next beautiful adventure.
mm,
Is the ability to, as I was hearing you share that, and I was thinking of all these other experiences, it's like it's easy to get through things when we make it easier for yourself to get through them. And so I was picturing as you were talking, and again, this is just conversations to spark some interest in people, or some ability to look at things differently, is when you think about certain things you're going through, it's harder to get through them whenever you're in a depressive state. It's harder to get through them, and you could also create like these bigger, more grandiose stories around them when you're like anxiety filled, tired. Not, let's be honest, if you had a couple too many drinks one night, the next day I'm sure you're not going for the healthy omelet. Most of the,
Mm,
like your body's
mm,
looking for carbs, it's looking for not maybe ultra processed food. So that tsunami just is never ending. And especially if you wake up and you're like, oh, that problem is still there. And
yeah.
I feel shittier than I did about the problem before I had a couple glasses of wine, or whatever that looks like. And so I want to also share, we touched a little bit on it at the beginning, but I think this was a key thing, is it's not the person, it's the drink. Can you talk about what that is? Because I feel even just that level of awareness, when you have a magnifying glass and say, wait, what? So I'm not a bad human. It's actually the drink. And you can separate the two from each other. I feel like that in itself can help people to kind of stand a little bit taller and say, tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
I need to
It
look
does,
at that for myself.
yeah, absolutely, because it doesn't select, right? There's no selection with alcohol. It's
Yeah.
everybody. I mean, it is literally everybody. So
Yeah.
if you use drink as your soother, is that if that's your chosen option? For me, it was that, amongst, you could hear all the other stuff that was on my menu, but other people, it could be porn, it could be shopping, it could be arguing with your partner, it could be anything. The fact is that when you choose something, I've just completely lost my train of thought. That was funny. Just
Talking about
disappeared.
the person versus the alcohol. So like
Yeah. So
separating
it
them.
doesn't selectively, it
Right.
doesn't, yeah, it's there. The minute you start, you're not going to be able to stop. It always calls for another one. Now,
Right.
the idea is the fact that you could have chosen anything. Like I said, you could have chosen anything. It so happens that because of your conditioning, your growing up, the environment you grew up in, alcohol was an option, right? It could have been anything. It's
Yeah.
just that you need soothing, you need to numb, and that's the option that you've been given. So
Mhm.
it could literally, it is not what we choose. We focus on the alcohol because this is what we do at This Naked Mind, but ultimately it could be anything. The
Mhm.
fact is be able to say that when you're reaching out to soothe yourself, it means that you are not soothing you with
Mm.
you.
Mhm.
Yeah, it means that you're not in the driver's seat of your bus. So
Yeah.
it's frightening being you. And so when shit hits the fan and life gets challenging, we need something to soothe, because nobody is stepping in and saying, do you know what? It's okay. I've got this. I've got you.
Yeah.
Lean in. I love you. Yeah.
It's amazing. And so you've worked with so many people over the last several years, and I would love to talk about no one's personal story. But is there anything that you have seen in the practice that you've been doing, supporting other people? I met so many amazing people in This Naked Mind in the path, and again, like you said, they're not homeless under a bridge. They're chiropractors. There are, I will touch on this. So I, in my hometown, have this amazing human that is a successful chiropractor, and just this week took his life.
Oh, shit.
He
Mm,
and this that's why I was like, this couldn't be a more perfect time to have Zoe on the show. Is literally, and I was like, what? Number one chiro, in the city, super successful, beautiful family, you know, two young kids, and it shocked me. And I thought this is why this conversation is so freaking important, because it threw me. And I thought, you never know when people are silently suffering. It doesn't matter if they have a wellness clinic. That's the number one wellness clinic behind closed doors. He took his own life. And I said to a friend of mine, I said, the compassion that I have for anyone that gets to that point, that's their option. I
mm,
can't imagine
mm.
the struggle and the devastation of their experience inside when the
Yeah.
gremlin has legitimately taken over.
And that
So
in that environment of care, of doctors, of nurses, of
and it
psychotherapists, of therapists, in their heads, they should know better. So they're
that's right.
even more lonely, right?
That's it. Yeah.
Oh,
So I feel like this conversation, I'm sharing it far and wide,
mm,
because if this conversation can help, I mean, I wish it could have helped him.
mm,
But if it could help one person to understand it's not them, that they have been duped. We've been duped.
Yeah.
And if we could just own and call it that instead of labeling the person as an alcoholic. And again, there's so many different beautiful ways to just get supported, whether it is, people want to do the 12 steps. Amazing. I've seen so much
Yeah.
success with that.
Yeah.
I just think that, find something, but also if you can, and take some time to really learn the education around what this platform does with this naked mind and what you're doing, Zoe, in regards to
Mm.
allowing people through those processes to also say, and I've got some good news for you. Work with whatever works for you, but also know that you also get to take yourself out of the equation. It had a
Yeah.
manipulative plan for you,
That's
regardless
it.
of who you were, whether you're a chiropractor or
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. And I think that's so important for people to know. And I feel like that energy can support them to have more excitement for their life and to have
Yeah, I
more
agree. Yeah.
lifting that veil of
Yeah.
bullshit,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, absolutely. Because when you look at it, what I found one of the most shocking things was when you hear what we're talking about. So everyone who's listening, if I ask you the question based on everything we've spoken about, how addictive it is and all this terrible stuff, what's written on a bottle of alcohol?
yeah,
Drink responsibly. So
there's
do you
no
know what? Here you go. We're not going to tell you this is an addictive substance, but here you go. It's a lovely color, nice label. Drink it and then drink responsibly. Because if you can't, do you know what? Shame on you.
shame on you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Because it's leaving it up to them that they should know better at the same
Yeah,
time while it's manipulating you and putting this, like, whirl over your eyes, and it's
with
like
no information.
yeah,
It's terrible. It
yeah,
was never, ever, and it never will be our fault. But now we know what we know. Now it's for us to take responsibility.
yeah.
We are now all empowered.
Mhm. And I
Mhm.
think the most important thing as well is you don't know what you don't know. So say for myself, I didn't have alcohol in my family. Like I didn't grow up with alcohol. My parents just never drank. So whatever the reasons is that I decided that I was looking at it like this is not supporting this massive vision that I have to change the world literally, right? So for me, I was already I don't want to say seeker. I was always very curious, I am very spiritually like
Mhm.
intuitive and like I see stuff. So I feel like this conversation is so important because people don't know what they don't know. I honestly,
Yeah.
it was only maybe 4 or 5, maybe 5 or 6 years ago where I was like, "Wait, people are saying different things. What do you
Mm.
mean? What do you mean it's just poison and it's an addictive substance and I'm not a bad person or that person that's struggling he's not bad. It's that makes bad things happen
Mm.
because you're poisoning a soul's vessel." Right? I
Mm.
think it's important. So some people just actually don't know about the book, This Naked Mind, or they don't know about the truth about alcohol, or they don't know there's so many beautiful books out there and beautiful,
Yeah.
things. So I think that this is one of the main reasons why for me, I'm like, every time something helps me, I'm like, everyone needs to know about it. Right.
Yeah,
So
I know, I agree with you
so
100%.
and what if someone just doesn't even know? That's why I want to spread this far and wide and spread the work that you're
Yeah,
doing. And that's why I always share you on my Instagram reels since I met you. I'll
yeah,
splash you because I'm like, if someone doesn't realize, they're like, what do you mean? I thought alcoholic means I'm bad or,
yeah.
I'm lazy or I'm a drunk or all those things that have nothing to do with our soul. Our soul didn't come in with that contract
No.
of, I'm not, and so it is a school for us. So,
Mhm.
it's
I
amazing to
yeah,
have that opportunity. So I want to also share, because there is, something called the path that you have been a part of and you're doing things outside of that. What do
yeah,
you feel for people who may be saying, so like, where do I start? Where do I
yeah.
go?
I love that you've asked that
Share.
because, and I'm going to give you the link to it. I'll get it from the back office. But we've got at the end of what are we? At the end of March, we've got
Mhm.
a 5-day event. I think it's
Oh,
$17 if you want to upgrade and come and get a bit of coaching with us coaches. I think that's an extra $70 or something like that. But it's worth every single penny. And it's a 5-day live event where Annie introduces you to this fail-proof
wow.
methodology
That's
and opens
amazing.
your eyes. It's amazing. It is full of content. Definitely worth doing.
Amazing. And so I want to ask you, so that part of this, because you're also this is for you and your coaching and your breath work. I want to get into that. But I want to explain to people, why is the title called This Naked Mind? Can you explain what that even means for
Yeah,
people?
because yeah, and actually someone asked the other day on the event last month. She was eating granola one morning, and she was eating it and looking at the packet and looking at and all the stuff that was in the granola, and it looked like it was healthy, but actually there was loads of shit in the granola. And so her idea was to be able to be healthy but remove start to take away all this stuff. And no one knew that there's all shit unless you read the packet.
Yeah.
But her idea was to be able to live a naked mind with no additives, no hiddens, and to know exactly your clarity. That's where the clarity comes from, because there's no additives in your
Can I tell
system.
you, that's crazy. And can I tell you how absolutely outstanding? You're not going to believe this. Well, you will.
Yeah.
Last night, I had early dinner, and last night I was hungry. This has never happened. And I was just watching a documentary, and I'm like, I'm hungry. So I went to get some high fat yogurt, and I put some chia seeds and stuff in it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, there's nothing crunchy in it. So I went up to the counter because I know we have some like healthy granola. I pulled down the granola. I went to pour it in, and I said, I don't think this is good for me. And I said, I'm not even kidding you. This was literally last night, and I've never done that. And I took it, I put it back in the thing. I'm like, oh, but I would need something crunchy. I'm like, no, you don't. The granola is pretending that it's healthy for you, but it's not. It's
Yeah.
full of shit. And I literally did this last night, and then I ended up only having the yogurt with some ceremonial cacao, and I had some chia seeds, and I'm like, I was fine.
Yeah.
But I literally started to set, I was like, it says it's healthy, it's granola, but I started to critically think about that, and literally that was last night. I've never done
Yeah.
that before, and
And
I never
again,
knew the story
clarity.
of this
Yeah.
naked mind. So
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to know, because I'm like, well, I like this. The name of it. Does it mean like clear mind?
Yeah.
But that's hilarious.
So cool.
Wow. Wow,
Isn't
that's
it
so
crazy?
cool.
And then you've got the same thing. You see, this is the idea.
Yeah.
It's like with sugar, right? And all additives and things like
Yeah.
this, is that you're sold an image. It's like in your face, and it's put on billboards, and it's like, oh, healthy bollocks. It's healthy.
Yeah. I'm never gonna forget that moment now. That's my
Yeah.
grounding. No granola. Not to say
No,
there's
no,
anything for
no.
people that love granola, eat it, add it to your smoothies.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have
no. Enjoy
nothing
your
against
granola.
granola.
Yeah,
And
we
also
don't want to
nothing
ruin
against
everything.
nothing against anything that anyone's doing. This is an important conversation
Yeah.
that has changed my life, has allowed me to just feel more empowered in my life around not just alcohol, but also other things. Because once you make a decision on like taking a deeper dive and a deeper look at certain things in your life, then it just turns into a habit, right? Because the most important thing is we want to create neurotransmitters. We want to change our brain waves so that we're breaking the habit of those things that are no longer serving. So you could insert the word alcohol, poisonous substance here, or like you said, porn, procrastinations, scrolling on Instagram instead of creating the business that you've been dreaming of for 5 years, having like low frequency conversations that are not helping you grow, right? I think it's
Yeah.
yeah,
And then bringing
all of
those
it.
beliefs to surface. So in the
Yeah,
path, we bring the beliefs, the hidden beliefs in the subconscious, we tickle them out
yeah,
through coaching and through listening to other people's stories that then make you go, oh, I can relate to that. And bang, your belief that's been keeping you drinking gets thrown from your subconscious into your conscious brain onto
yeah,
the kitchen table. We then don't judge it. We bring compassion, and we look at it and we go, oh, what are you all about? And we tickle it with
mhm,
questions. And then we put it on the side, and we've got a new space for a brand new belief. And we work through them one belief at a time. And
yeah,
it's utterly genius.
yeah. So
Mm.
another thing that just came to me as I'm listening to you is I'm feeling that some people may think it's too much. They've gone too far. This is not for them. It can't
Mm.
possibly help them. I'm different. I'm worse off. Like all of those ego, not wanting them to take a look at this. Do you have any advice for those people, or any way that you can help them to bring in compassion? Because obviously you could say, let's go on the link, let's, get the book, all those things. But do you have any message for people who, because your story, you could have been easily the one, Zoe, that said, based on my history, it's not possible for this to have worked, but yet it has. So you're a testament of it actually working. So do you have any messages of compassion for people who may not feel like it's possible after like 25 years of XYZ and what I've done to my life? It's just, this is too easy. Because,
Yeah.
right? We don't
I'm
think
going to
it should be
invite
this
you,
easy.
anybody who feels that way, find your anchor and just say to yourself, it's okay to feel the way I'm feeling right now.
Mm,
Because it might be the first time that you're actually giving yourself that reassurance that
mhm.
everything's okay. Because
Yeah.
the minute you give yourself that reassurance, it's okay to feel worried. It's okay to feel scared. It's okay to feel that you're different to everybody else. It's okay. Because if we don't relate to what's being thought, we relate to what's being felt all that you're wanting, all of us are wanting, is to be told that everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Because then our hearts open and the doors open to change.
Mhm.
As simple as that.
It's amazing.
It's
Oh, it is that anchor. Yeah, I think for me, I'll write on my chakras right here. I feel like for me
okay.
too, because it's like that root
Mm,
area. Because a lot of times I think there's obviously we have different energy fields, but there's certain, like you said, there's reasons why we feel unsafe, or there's reasons why we feel not worthy. And so
mm,
being able to find out where can I love myself? You
mm.
know, the heart, maybe it's the throat chakra, maybe it's just even like that, the brain, whatever that is. But that anchoring is so important. And we
Yeah,
weren't taught these things, Zoe, as kids. No
yeah,
one said, "Did you anchor today, honey?
yeah,
Have your
yeah.
cereal and toast and anchor."
You're
No.
upset, you're angry. It's okay. It's okay to be
Yeah.
angry,
Yeah.
because then the anger doesn't need to progress into rage. Then the
Yeah.
fear doesn't have to progress into complete depression. If you've got the words that you've been wanting to hear your whole life, which is someone to say, it's okay, I'm here. It's okay
Mhm.
to feel the way
Wow.
you're feeling. You're going to process the way you're feeling. You can't not.
Yeah.
You're
It's
basking
amazing.
in the light of your own attention. That's what we
Yeah.
want.
Oh. This was so powerful. I really need to have you back on, though. I feel like this is
It's a pleasure.
this is like the intro, just to kind of open people's minds, this naked mind. And so at the end of every show, Zoe, I always want to ask my guest a question, and I never know what it is because it's always based on whatever has been unfolding throughout our conversation. So I would love to ask you, for you, because of your transformation and the work that you're doing, what would you love to hear from your future self, let's say 20 years from now? What would you love to hear from your future self to the you now that just reminds you of the work that you're doing? Or like if it's gratitude, or if it's like any message that you feel the future you would be saying to you now based on what you've gifted
And
this
you know what my
world,
answer is going to
myself.
be? My
Oh,
future self,
yeah,
she's quiet.
I love it.
She has nothing to tell me because I'm
Beautiful.
exactly where I'm meant to be.
Yeah.
Mm,
Oh, that's powerful.
mm.
And I want to touch on that as we close, because I had a conversation with a friend of mine, dear friend of mine, yesterday. And I think that's the most important thing in all of this, is that we are not supposed to be further along.
No,
We weren't supposed to make that better choice last month.
no.
If only I would have like done that 2 years ago. All of those things are other like ego's way of like making us feel like shit about ourselves.
Mm.
So what you just said literally was a conversation I had with my friend yesterday, is that every single moment up to this absolute moment is exactly where we're meant to be. There's the dog. There's Angel.
Love it.
She
Love
said,
it.
"If they're closing out, I have to do the tail, mom. I have to do the tail."
Because
Um,
otherwise, we're constantly saying to ourselves, you're not good the way you are. I want you
yeah,
to be different. And when you become
change.
that person, then
Yeah,
things will be okay. They
yeah,
won't, because the
yeah,
message is still the same. You're
yeah,
loved conditionally.
yeah,
And most of us know what it's like to be loved conditionally.
yeah,
Enough. Enough.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
time to feel ourselves and to give ourselves unconditional love.
And it goes back to that saying, that quote that you mentioned, that I definitely want to put in, if you could send, just around that one part of us that always loves
Oh,
ourselves
yeah.
no matter what.
I'll send it to you.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Beautiful.
So Zoe, I love you. The first moment I heard your awesome accent on one of our beautiful course Saturday mornings, when I first started really diving into this and looking at it and sharing it with so many people, I just honor you. I think the work you're doing is amazing. I know you also do breath work. You also do, so many like just beautiful offerings. So where can we find you? Do you have anything else coming up? Is there any course, any even like program you have available for, on your website that you can share with the world? I would love for you to share that right now. Can we email you, websites, social?
Yeah, thank you. I'm a firm believer in doing, and doing this work. We can become very heady and very thinky and intellectualized, and the outside world and the world we're living at the moment is very orientated towards keeping thinking and thinking our way through all the thinking that we're creating in the first place. So we're creating problems with our thinking, and then we're trying to think our way through them. So it's not working. So I'm a firm believer in somatic work. And
Mhm.
I discovered breath work myself, and it absolutely rocked my world. And I do it the first Saturday of every month, and we do it group online. It costs £20, which is about $25, I think. And you just sign up and you join us, and I guide you through a thing called Conscious Connected Breathwork experience with Zoe.
Mhm.
And we have great music, and we breathe and we breathe, and the breath brings what we're in the body. And the regular breathing takes you out of your head. It switches off the thinking brain, takes you into your limbic brain and into your body, where you're able to breathe in and untangle all the stuckness and all the emotions that you might have been pushing down from childhood and even, up till now. And it is very releasing. It's absolutely amazing. And I would really recommend it to every single person, and for you to recommend it to every single person as well.
Yeah. And so we can find you where?
So my website is coachingwithzoe.com.
Perfect. And you're on social media, I know, because I follow you.
On social media, Life Coaching with Zoe, and Facebook, I'm Coaching with Zoe.
Okay. And I'll make sure to put all of that in the show notes with your quote. I'd also like to make sure we'll get the link for the 5-day.
Yeah. I'm going to do that now. Yeah.
What are the dates for that?
Let me just check. It's the last weekend in March. So it's the
29th.
24th to the 29th to the 28th.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I'll make sure to get that up. So I'll make sure to get that to everyone as well too.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. You're such a gem.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. It's lovely to spend that time with you. It's nice to distill, right? And just be together.
I know. And maybe one day we'll be together. You're moving to France.
I am.
So now I have an excuse.
Yeah.
I'll make business out of it. I have to go see Zoe. It's a business trip. Of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm just so honored. So thank you so much. I will make sure to share all of the links and the resources. And to my amazing, amazing audience, I'm so grateful that I have this opportunity to have created this platform, and I can't do it without you, because if we don't share the amazing messages, then it's just my dream doesn't come true. And I know it's coming true. So I am so grateful. I've had so much feedback on the episodes, even the little tidbits of information. As you know, knowledge is power, and action on that knowledge can actually change the world. And so my tagline, as always, is follow the magic that ignites your inner essence. And if you know of someone, maybe it's you, maybe it's someone that you love, maybe you're even just thinking that someone may be silently suffering around alcohol, around this addiction, around just really needing that extra hug, I really believe that this conversation can spark that for people. And you just honestly never know, if one person's life can be saved by this conversation, then our job is done. So thank you, Zoe. I love you. And we will catch you next time. And Angel says, bye.
Bye.
Bye. We'll catch you next time. Thank you.